The ship floated silently in the dark of space. It was called the Whisper of Stars, and it belonged to the Galactic Union. Inside, dozens of alien scientists watched their screens with great interest. Something terrible had happened on the planet below, and they were here to watch. Vela stood at the main observation deck. She was a Rin, a species that looked like a large insect with thin legs and big compound eyes. Her body was fragile, like dried paper. A strong wind could hurt her. But her mind was sharp, and she was the best xenobiologist in the Union. Her job was to study dangerous species. Today, she was studying the most dangerous of all, humans. "The drones are in position," said Taurus, her assistant. Taurus looked like a floating jellyfish, with long, glowing tendrils that moved when he spoke. He had never seen a human before. He was nervous. "Good," Vela said. "Begin recording everything." On the planet below, a mining colony had collapsed. 200 workers were trapped under kilometers of rock and metal. The air systems had failed. The temperature was dropping fast. Oxygen was running out. Most of the trapped workers were aliens from gentle worlds, but 15 of them were humans. Captain Aura walked up behind Vela. She was tall and covered in smooth scales, with 4 arms and eyes that never blinked. "Why are we here?" "Ache?" she asked. "This is a rescue operation, not a research mission." Vela turned to face her. "We are here to observe the humans, Captain." "Observe them doing what? Dying?" "Perhaps," Vela said quietly. "Or perhaps something else. The Union has studied humans for 50 years, but we still do not understand them. Their planet is classified as a Class 1-2 death world. Do you know what that means?" Captain Aura shook her head. "It means their world tried to kill them every single day," Vela explained. "Extreme temperatures, deadly predators, diseases that could wipe out entire populations, natural disasters that destroyed everything they built. By all logic, humans should have gone extinct millions of years ago. But they did not." She pointed at the screen, where the first images from the drones were appearing. "They survived. They adapted. They became something the galaxy has never seen before. And today, we will learn what that something is." The images showed chaos. The mining tunnels had collapsed in dozens of places. Rocks and metal beams blocked every path. Dust filled the air. The emergency lights were flickering, casting red shadows on the walls. Bodies lay everywhere. Some were already dead. Others were crying, screaming, trying to dig themselves free. Vela watched as a group of Malori, small furry creatures from a warm planet, huddled together in terror. They were shaking badly. The cold was killing them. "The temperature is -15 and dropping," Taurus reported. "Oxygen levels at 60% and falling. At this rate, most species will not survive more than 20 hours. "And the humans?" Captain Aura asked. Taurus checked his readings. "They are moving." Vela leaned closer to the screen. She saw them now. 5 humans, covered in dust and blood, but standing. While every other species was frozen in panic, the humans were already working. One of them, a man with a calm face, was shouting orders. Not in anger, but with purpose. He pointed at different areas, and the other humans moved immediately. They did not argue. They did not hesitate. They simply acted. "Who is that?" Vela asked. Taurus pulled up the personnel files. "His name is Teho. He is a structural engineer, 34 years old." Vela watched Teho move through the chaos like water through rocks. He stopped beside a crying alien, knelt down, and spoke to her softly. Vela could not hear the words, but she saw the alien's terror slowly fade. Teho touched her shoulder gently, then moved on to the next survivor. "Remarkable," Vela whispered. Another human caught her attention. A woman was setting up a medical station using nothing but broken equipment and torn fabric. Her hands moved fast, faster than Vela thought possible. An alien with a broken arm approached her, and she treated it in minutes. "That is Yuna," Taurus said. "She is an emergency medic. She is working in freezing temperatures with no proper equipment," Captain Aura said, disbelief in her voice. "How is she still functioning? Humans can regulate their body temperature internally," Vela explained. "Their blood carries heat to their vital organs. They can survive conditions that would kill us in minutes." More humans appeared on the screens. A large man named Sunwoo began lifting rocks that should have been too heavy for his size. A young woman named Hana was trying to fix a broken radio. An injured man named Minho, despite having blood running down his face, was helping others stand up. The aliens around them watched in confusion. They had never seen anything like this. Their own bodies were failing, their minds clouded with fear. They kept fighting. "I do not understand," Taurus said slowly. "They are in the same situation as everyone else. They are trapped. They are dying. Why do they not panic?" Vela was silent for a long moment. On the screen, Tejo was organizing the survivors into groups. He was creating order from chaos. He was building hope from nothing. "Because," Vela finally said, "they are Deathworlders. This is not their first disaster. This is not their first brush with death. Their entire history is a story of survival against impossible odds." She paused. "And I am beginning to think that impossible odds are exactly what makes them strong." Captain Aura stared at the screen. For the first time, there was something new in her unblinking eyes: fear and respect. "Then let us watch," she said quietly. "Let us see what these Deathworlders can do." The cold was getting worse. Frost formed on the metal walls. Every breath came out as white mist. The alien survivors huddled together, trying to share what little warmth they had left. But it was not enough. Their bodies were not made for this. Tejo stood in the center of the collapsed tunnel and looked at the survivors. 163 beings, from 12 different species. Most of them were shaking, crying, or staring at nothing. They had given up. He could see it in their eyes. But Tejo had not given up. He would never give up. "Listen to me," he said loudly. His voice echoed through the tunnel. "We are going to survive this. All of us. But I need you to trust me." A Mallory worker looked up at him. Her fur was covered in ice. She asked, her voice weak. "The rescue teams cannot reach us. The air is running out. We are going to die here." Tejo knelt down beside her. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her small body. The cold hit his skin immediately, but he did not show it. "I have been in worse situations," he said gently. "And I am still here. Do you know why?" The Mallory shook her head. "Because I refused to die." He smiled at her. "And today, I refuse to let you die, too." Across the tunnel, Yuna was working without rest. Her medical station was nothing more than a flat rock and some torn cloth. But she made it work. An alien with 4 arms lay in front of her, screaming in pain. One of his arms was crushed, bent, at an impossible angle. "I need to set the bone," Yuna told him. "It will hurt. But if I do not do it, you will lose the arm." The alien's eyes went wide with terror. "Your medicine. It is too primitive. You will make it worse." Yuna's expression did not change. "I have set hundreds of broken bones, human bones, which are denser and harder than yours. I know what I am doing." She paused. "Do you trust me?" The alien looked at her for a long moment. He saw no fear in her eyes. No doubt. Only calm determination. Slowly, he nodded. Yuna worked fast. Her hands moved with practiced skill. The alien screamed once, then gasped as the pain suddenly lessened. He looked down at his arm. It was straight again, wrapped tightly in bandages made from torn clothing. "Rest now," Yuna said. "You will be fine." She did not wait for his thanks. She was already moving to the next patient. On the other side of the tunnel, Sunwoo was clearing rubble. His hands were bleeding, his muscles burned with exhaustion. But he did not stop. A massive rock blocked the path to a small group of survivors. It was too heavy for any machine they had left. It was too heavy for any alien species in the tunnel. Sunwoo grabbed it anyway. He planted his feet. He took a deep breath. And then he lifted. The rock moved. Slowly, at first. Then faster. Sunwoo's face turned red with effort. His arms shook. But he did not let go. He carried the rock 10 steps, then dropped it to the side. A group of aliens stared at him in disbelief. One of them, a tall being with thin limbs, approached him carefully. "That rock weighs 300 kilograms, he said. "How did you lift it?" "1. Sunwoo wiped the blood from his hands. "I needed to," he said simply. "So I did." The alien did not understand. He could not understand. His species had never needed to be strong. Their world had been gentle, safe, easy. They had evolved to think, not to fight. They had never faced a challenge that could not be solved with technology. But humans were different. Humans had evolved on a world that wanted them dead. They had fought predators with nothing but sticks and stones. They had survived ice ages, famines, plagues, and wars. Their bodies had been forged in fire, shaped by millions of years of struggle. And now, in this frozen tunnel, that strength was showing. Hana sat in a corner, surrounded by broken equipment. She was young, barely 25, but her mind was sharp. She had taken apart 3 damaged radios and was trying to build one working unit from the pieces. Her fingers were numb from the cold. She could barely feel what she was touching, but she kept working. She had to. Communication was their only hope. "Come on," she whispered to herself. "Work. Please work." She connected 2 wires, a spark, then static, then, faintly, a voice. "This is Surface Team. Does anyone read me?" Hana's heart jumped. Yes, we read you. This is Hana, Communications Specialist. We have survivors down here. Over 160 people. We need help," the voice crackled with interference. "We are working on it. The collapse is massive. It will take time to break through." "How much time?" A pause. "At least 4 days, maybe 5. Hana closed her eyes. 4 days. They did not have 4 days. The oxygen would run out in 2. The cold would kill the aliens even sooner. But she did not say that. Instead, she said, "We will be here. We will wait. Just get to us as fast as you can." She turned off the radio to save power, then stood up. Taeho was watching her. He had heard everything. 4 days, he said quietly. "Yes." Taeho nodded slowly. He looked at the survivors around him. The freezing, terrified, dying aliens. And the 4 other humans, still working, still fighting, still refusing to quit. "Then we will make 4 days," he said. "Whatever it takes." Hana looked at him. "How?" Taeho's eyes were calm. "By being human." Above, on the whisper of stars, Vela watched through the drones. Her thin body was trembling, but not from cold. From something else. Something she had never felt before. "They are not just surviving," she said softly. "They are protecting, fighting, for beings they do not even know." Taurus floated beside her, his tendrils dim with confusion. "Why would they do that? It makes no logical sense. They are wasting energy, wasting resources. They should focus on saving themselves." Vela shook her head slowly. "That is what we would do. That is what any logical species would do." She paused. "But humans are not logical. They are something else entirely." She watched Taeho give his last piece of food to a starving alien child. She watched Yuna treat wounds until her own hands were raw. She watched Sunwoo carry those who could not walk. She watched Hana sing soft songs to keep dying aliens calm. "They are wonderful," Vela whispered. "And terrifying." 72 hours had passed since the collapse. The situation had become desperate. The temperature had dropped to -25. Ice covered everything. The walls, the floor, the equipment. The bodies of those who had already died. 43 aliens had frozen to death in the past day alone. Their bodies lay in a row against one wall, covered with torn fabric because there was nothing else to give them. The oxygen was almost gone. Vela watched her instruments with growing horror. "Oxygen levels at 31%, she reported to Captain Aura. "At this rate, they have 6 hours left, maybe less." Captain Aura stood with all 4 arms crossed. Her scales had turned pale, a sign of deep stress in her species. And the rescue teams? Still 2 days away. The collapse is worse than they thought. There is no way to reach them in time. Silence filled the observation deck. Every alien scientist knew what this meant. They were about to watch over 100 beings die. There was nothing they could do. But down in the tunnel, the humans were not ready to give up. Taeho gathered his team together. Yuna, Sunwoo, Hana, and Minho. They were exhausted. Their bodies were pushed far beyond normal limits. Minho could barely stand. His crushed leg had gotten worse, and infection was setting in. But they were still alive. They were still fighting. "The oxygen is running out," Taeho said quietly, so the aliens could not hear. "We have maybe 6 hours. The aliens will die first," Yuna said. Her voice was flat, professional. "Their lungs are not as efficient as ours. They need more oxygen to function. When levels drop below 25%, they will start suffocating." "How long can we survive at that level?" Hana asked. "Longer than them. Maybe 12 hours, if we stay calm and do not move much." Sunwoo understood immediately. "You want us to give them our oxygen," Taeho nodded. "Humans can survive on less air. Our ancestors lived in mountains where the oxygen was thinner than this. We can slow our breathing, reduce our needs. If we do that, we can give the aliens more time." Minho laughed weakly. It turned into a cough. "You are asking us to slowly suffocate ourselves." "Yes, for aliens we do not know. Species that have looked down on us for years. Called us dangerous, primitive. Animals. 5. Flash. Animals. 5. Taeho met his eyes. "Yes." Minho was silent for a moment. Then he smiled, showing bloody teeth. "Good. I was hoping you would say that. I am tired of proving we are not monsters. Time to prove what we actually are." One by one, the humans agreed. They spread out among the survivors and began teaching them how to breathe more efficiently. They showed the aliens how to stay calm, how to slow their heart rates, how to conserve every bit of oxygen. And then the humans began to breathe less themselves. It was not easy. Every instinct screamed at them to take deeper breaths, to fill their lungs with air. But they fought those instincts. They breathed slow and shallow. They sat perfectly still. They let the aliens have the oxygen they needed. A young Mallory watched Taeho with wide, confused eyes. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You could breathe normally. You could live longer. Why are you giving us your air?" Taeho's lips were turning blue. His vision was getting blurry. But he smiled at her. "Because you need it more," he said. "And because this is what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. But we are not your people. We are not even your species. You are people," Taeho said simply. "That is enough." The Mallory started to cry. Not from fear this time, but from something else. Something she had never felt toward a human before. Gratitude and shame for ever thinking they were just dangerous animals. Hours passed. The oxygen levels continued to drop. 28%. 25. 22. The aliens were struggling to breathe, but they were still alive. The humans were worse. Their faces were gray. Their movements were slow. Every breath was a battle. Yuna continued treating patients, even as her own body failed. Her hands shook so badly, she could barely hold her tools. But she did not stop. She could not stop. There were still people who needed her. "You should rest," an alien patient told her. "You are dying." "Not yet," Yuna whispered. "Not until everyone is safe." Sunwoo had stopped moving entirely. He sat against a wall, his massive body completely still. He was using so little oxygen that he appeared dead, but his eyes were open, watching everything, ready to act if needed. Hana kept the radio working. Every few hours, she made contact with the surface, giving updates, receiving encouragement. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper, but she made sure the rescue teams knew exactly where to dig, exactly how to reach them. And Minho, despite his ruined leg, crawled through the tunnel, checking on survivors. He could not walk, so he crawled. He could not speak loudly, so he whispered. But he made sure everyone knew they were not alone. On the Whisper of Stars, the observation deck was completely silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They just watched. Vela's compound eyes were wet with tears she did not know she could produce. "They are killing themselves," she said. Slowly, deliberately. "They are killing themselves to save others." "I do not understand," Taurus said, his voice shaking. "This goes against every survival instinct. Every logical calculation. Why would any species do this?" "Taurus 7, Captain Aura answered. Her voice was strange, filled with an emotion she had never felt before. "Because they are not calculating survival. They are calculating something else." Quote, "What?" Captain Aura watched Teho give his last bit of water to a dying alien child. She watched Yuna hold the hand of someone she could not save. She watched Sunwoo, Hana, and Minho refuse to give up, even as their bodies shut down. "Worth," she said quietly. "They are calculating worth. And they have decided that every life down there is worth dying for." Vela turned back to the screens. The humans were barely alive now. Their bodies were failing, but they were still fighting, still protecting, still hoping. "This is their darkest hour," she whispered. "And they are spending it saving others." She made a decision. "Contact the rescue teams," she ordered. "Tell them to work faster. Tell them to do whatever it takes. Those humans cannot die. The galaxy needs to see them survive. The galaxy needs to know what they are capable of." Captain Aura looked at her. "And what are they capable of?" Vela's voice was filled with wonder. "Everything. They are capable of everything." 96 hours. 4 days since the collapse. The rescue teams had finally broken through, but the opening they created was not what anyone had hoped for. It was a narrow passage, barely wide enough for one person to crawl through. The walls were unstable, ready to collapse at any moment. Toxic gases filled the tunnel, leftovers from the mining operations mixed with the decay of organic matter. The temperature inside was below freezing. Do-hyun, the leader of the rescue team, stood at the entrance of the passage and cursed quietly. He was Korean, like the trapped humans below. He had volunteered for this mission the moment he heard there were survivors. "We cannot send equipment through there," his second-in-command said. "It is too narrow, and the gases will kill anyone who tries." "Then we send people," Do-hyun said. "Someone has to go through, set up supports, and guide the survivors out." "Who?" "The passage will kill anyone in minutes. No species can survive those conditions long enough to do the work." Do-hyun was about to answer when his radio crackled. A weak voice came through. It was, "Taeho, I heard your problem," Taeho said. His voice was barely a whisper. "I will go." "Absolutely not," Do-hyun replied. You have been down there for 4 days with almost no oxygen. You are in no condition to. There is no one else. Taeho's voice was calm, certain. The aliens cannot survive the passage. Their bodies are too fragile. But I can. I am human. This is what we were made for. Do-hyun closed his eyes. He knew Taeho was right. He hated it. But he knew. You will die in there, he said quietly. Maybe. But if I do not try, everyone else will die for certain. There was a pause. I did not spend 4 days keeping these people alive just to let them die now. Open the passage. I am coming. Taeho stood up. His body screamed in protest. He had not eaten properly in days. He had given away most of his water. His lungs were damaged from the thin air. Every muscle ached. Every bone felt heavy. But he stood anyway. Yuna grabbed his arm. You cannot do this alone. I have to. No. Her eyes were fierce despite her exhaustion. I know you. Taeho. You will try to save everyone, and forget to save yourself. Let me come with you. You are needed here. Sunwoo can watch them. Hana can keep communication open. Minho. She looked at Minho, who was barely conscious. Minho has done enough, but you need someone in that tunnel with you. Someone to watch your back. Taeho wanted to argue. But he saw the determination in her eyes. The same determination that had kept her working for 4 days without rest. He nodded. 30. 5 lead. 5 lead. 5 lead. 5 lead ED. 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 Okay. But stay behind me. If something goes wrong, you get out. Promise me. Yuna did not promise. They both knew she would not keep that promise anyway. The passage was worse than they expected. The moment they entered, the cold hit them like a wall. The toxic gases burned their lungs. The walls were so narrow they had to crawl on their stomachs, pushing themselves forward inch by inch. Taeho went first. He carried supports on his back, heavy metal poles that would hold the passage open. Every movement was agony. His vision blurred. His breathing became ragged. But he kept moving. Behind him, Yuna followed. She carried medical supplies, ready to treat any survivor they found. The gases made her cough violently, but she did not stop. 10 minutes passed. 20. 30. On the surface, Do-hyun listened to their progress through the radio. He heard their breathing getting worse. He heard them coughing, gasping, struggling. But he also heard them moving. Always moving. First, support is in place, Taeho reported. His voice was barely recognizable. Moving to the second point. Your vitals are critical, Do-hyun said. You need to come back. Not yet. Keep the line open. 40 minutes. 45. Taeho reached the main chamber where the survivors waited. He emerged from the passage covered in frost. His skin blue. His eyes bloodshot. But he was smiling. I am here, he said. Let us get you out. The evacuation began. One by one, Taeho and Yuna guided survivors through the passage. The aliens who could move went first. They crawled through the narrow tunnel, following the route Taeho had cleared, using the supports he had placed. But some survivors could not move. Some were too injured, too weak, too young. Taeho carried them. He went back into the death tunnel again and again, 7 times in total. Each time, he emerged more damaged than before. His hands were bleeding. His lungs were burned. His body was shutting down. But he kept going. On the 7th trip, he carried a small alien child. She was unconscious, her thin body almost weightless in his arms. He crawled through the passage with her held against his chest, protecting her from the cold walls, the toxic air, the collapsing rocks. When he finally emerged on the other side, Do-hyun was waiting for him. Taeho placed the child gently in a medic's arms. Then he looked up at Do-hyun and smiled. Everyone is out, he whispered. Then he collapsed, Sunwoo caught him before he hit the ground. The big man had made it through the passage somehow, his massive body squeezing through spaces that should have been too small. He held Taeho, like he weighed nothing. "I have him," Sunwoo said. "He is alive." Barely. Yuna was there in seconds. Her own body was failing, but she pushed it aside. She checked Taeho's pulse, his breathing, his temperature. "He needs medical attention now. His lungs are damaged. His core temperature is too low. His heart is—" "I know," Do-hyun said. "We have medical ships waiting. All of you are going to the hospital. The aliens first," Yuna said automatically. Do-hyun stared at her. This woman, who was barely standing, who had spent 4 days saving lives, was still putting others before herself. "No," he said firmly. "All of you. Together. No one gets left behind." Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time in 4 days, she let herself relax. She let someone else take care of things. She let herself be human again. On the Whisper of Stars, the observation deck erupted in sounds that Vela had never heard before. Cheering, crying, aliens of a dozen species, all making noise at once. All celebrating the impossible thing they had just witnessed. Vela stood silently, watching the screens. She saw Taeho being carried onto a medical ship. She saw Yuna finally accepting treatment for her own wounds. She saw Sunwoo, Hana, and Minho being lifted to safety. And she saw the aliens they had saved. 123 beings who were alive because 5 humans had refused to let them die. "This is what they are," she said quietly to herself. "This is what Deathworlders truly are. Not monsters. Not dangerous animals. They were protectors. They were survivors. They were the kind of beings who walked into death itself and came back carrying others. And the galaxy would never see them the same way again." 3 months had passed since the disaster on Varus 7. The Galactic Union Council chambers were filled with representatives from every known species. Hundreds of beings from hundreds of worlds gathered in the largest meeting hall in the galaxy. The room was shaped like a massive bowl, with seats rising up on all sides toward a domed ceiling made of transparent crystal. Through it, 1,000,000 stars shone down on the assembly. This was the most important meeting in Union history. And everyone knew why they were here. Vela stood at the center podium. Her thin insect body looked tiny in the vast chamber, but her voice carried to every corner. She had spent 3 months preparing for this moment. She had reviewed every second of footage, analyzed every piece of data, interviewed every survivor. And now, she was ready to share what she had learned. "Members of the council," she began, "I am here to present my findings on the Varus 7 incident. But more than that, I am here to correct a mistake. A mistake that our union has been making for 50 years. She activated the holographic display. Images appeared in the air above her, showing Earth, its blue oceans, its green forests, its violent storms and active volcanoes, and endless variety of life. "We have classified this planet as a Class 1-2 death world," Vela said. "The highest threat rating possible. We believed that any species that evolved there must be dangerous, violent, unpredictable, a threat to galactic peace." She paused, letting the words sink in. "We were wrong." The chamber stirred with surprise. Vela continued, "Yes, Earth is dangerous. Yes, it is hostile. Yes, it tried to kill its inhabitants every single day for millions of years. But we made a critical error in our logic. We assumed that a dangerous world would create dangerous people." New images appeared, footage from Varus 7. Taeho organizing survivors. Yuna treating wounds. Sunwoo lifting impossible weights. Hana keeping hope alive. Minho refusing to stop, despite his injuries. "What we did not understand," Vela said, her voice growing stronger, "is that Earth did not create killers. It created survivors. It created protectors. It created beings who know what it means to suffer, and who have decided that they will never let others suffer if they can prevent it. She showed the moment when Taeho gave his oxygen to the aliens. When Yuna held a dying stranger's hand. When Sunwoo carried beings he had never met to safety. These humans spent 4 days in conditions that would have killed any of us in hours. They had every reason to focus on their own survival. They could have used their superior physical abilities to take resources from others. They could have let the weaker species die and saved themselves. Her compound eyes swept across the chamber, but they did not. Instead, they gave away their food. They shared their water. They donated their oxygen. They crawled into a death tunnel 7 times to carry out beings they did not know, from species that had treated them with suspicion and fear. She deactivated the display and stood in silence for a moment. I have studied dangerous species my entire career. I have seen predators and killers and beings that destroy without thought. But I have never, in all my years, seen anything like these humans. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. But in the silent chamber, everyone heard every word. They are not dangerous because they are strong. They are dangerous because they care. And when a human decides that something matters, when they decide that someone is worth protecting, they become unstoppable. They will walk through fire. They will breathe poison. They will fight death itself. And they will not stop until everyone they care about is safe. She stepped back from the podium. We called them Deathworlders as an insult. I propose we start using it as a compliment, because these Deathworlders just showed us what strength really means. And it has nothing to do with muscles or weapons or violence. She looked directly at the council leaders. It has to do with heart. And humans have more heart than any species I have ever encountered. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, a sound began to build. Applause. From one being, then 10, then 100. Soon the entire chamber was filled with the sound of 1,000 different species showing their approval in 1,000 different ways. In a special section near the front, 5 humans sat together. Taeho, Yuna, Sunwoo, Hana, and Minho. They had been invited as honored guests, the first humans ever to address the Galactic Council. Taeho still walked with a cane. His lungs would never fully recover. But he was alive. And that was enough. After the formal session ended, Captain Aura approached him. She had traveled a long way to be here. She had watched these humans through screens for 4 days. Now she wanted to understand them face to face. I have a question, she said. One that has bothered me since Varus 7. Taeho nodded. Ask. Why? Why did you do it? You risked everything for species that are not your own. You suffered. You nearly died. And for what? Beings you had never met. From worlds you had never visited. Taeho was quiet for a moment. He thought about his grandmother, who had raised him with stories of honor and sacrifice. He thought about his parents, who had taught him that strength meant protecting the weak. He thought about the 4 people beside him, who had never once considered abandoning the aliens, even when it would have been the logical choice. In my country, he said slowly, there is an old saying, a person's true character is shown not by how they treat their friends, but by how they treat strangers. 2000. He looked up at the crystal dome, at the million stars shining down. Those aliens were strangers. But they were also people. They were scared. They were dying. And we could help. So we helped. It is as simple as that. Captain Aura tilted her head. But the cost, the pain, the risk. Taeho smiled. Our world spent 1,000,000 years trying to kill us. It threw ice ages and volcanoes and predators and plagues at us. It tried everything it could to wipe us out. But we survived. We adapted. We grew stronger. He turned to look at his friends. Yuna, who was laughing at something Hana had said. Sunwoo, standing quietly with his arms crossed. Minho, leaning on his crutches but grinning widely. We did not survive because we were selfish. We survived because we worked together, because we protected each other, because we decided, a very long time ago, that no one gets left behind. He turned back to Captain Aura. Our world could not break us. And if our world could not break us, nothing will. Not even death itself. Captain Aura stood in silence for a long time. Then, slowly, she did something no one expected. She bowed. A deep, formal bow of respect. The kind her species only gave to the greatest warriors. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for teaching us what strength really means." Teho bowed in return. "Thank you for giving us the chance to show you." As the 5 humans left the council chambers that day, they walked past statues of the greatest heroes in galactic history, leaders and warriors and scientists who had shaped the Union over thousands of years. Hana stopped and looked at the empty space at the end of the row. "There is room for more statues," she said. Teho smiled. "Maybe someday." But Yuna was already walking ahead, and her voice drifted back to them. "Someday? Have you seen how many people want to shake our hands? I think someday is already here." And she was right. Because from that day forward, the galaxy never looked at humans the same way again. They were still called Deathworlders. But now, the word meant something different. It meant hope. It meant courage. It meant the stubborn, beautiful, terrifying refusal to ever give up. It meant human.